Good afternoon and welcome to another Facebook Live, Lunch and Learn with the Center for African American Health. We are excited to announce that we will be opening the doors of our new building to community for in-person classes and services beginning August 1st. If you haven't done so already, please visit our website and sign up for CAA Health's weekly e-blast to learn more about resources and learning opportunities as they become available, which I will be announcing 2 new opportunities later in the chat. As we wait for more people to join, I'd like to introduce myself and tell you a little bit more about our organization. I am Yolanda Gotier. I am the Director of Programs for the Center of African American Health. We have been in existence for more than 20 years with a focus and a commitment to improving the health and well-being of the African American community. And in order to do this, we provide community-based, evidence-based, disease prevention and disease management programs, events, and services. You can learn more about our work and our programs by visiting the website at caahealth.org. After a year of uncertainty and extended periods of being confined at home during quarantine, many of us are struggling to get back to our normal routines, or as I like to say, our new and emerging routines. Pandemic-related stress affected us all in different ways. However, one thing most of us unfortunately have in common is the fact that we've adopted some unhealthy dietary behaviors. According to a recent study, mindless eating and snacking, increased food consumption, and sedentary lifestyles have contributed to a rise in chronic diseases. And as we know, our community really suffers from hypertension and diabetes. It's essential for us to be mindful of this reality, giving ourselves grace and developing a plan to slowly get our health back on track. Those of you who have attended our Center for African American Health's Aging Mastery Program classes in the past may recognize my next guest. Chef Leilah Rice provided participants with tips, information to simplify the cooking experience, and she is here to share her knowledge and expertise with us again today. Welcome back, Leilah.
Hi everyone.
So before we get started with our conversations and demonstration, Chef Leilah, will you please tell our viewers about your passion for cooking and how you got started?
Sure. So I have always loved to cook. You know, as a little girl, my mom always, she was always in the kitchen, always teaching me how to cook. Always kind of making me try things that maybe I didn't like, or maybe I wasn't used to, just to, open me up to more things. I ended up starting cooking. Actually, I was going to school to be an architect, and every time I would get really stressed out, I would realize I would cook. And so my roommate always knew something was wrong. She would come home, there'd be 500 cupcakes everywhere. Or, I made steak dinner with shrimp tonight. And she'd be like, it's finals, isn't it? So, it just seemed like the right thing to do. The more I got into it, the more I loved it. By the time I got to go to school for it, everything just kind of fell in line and it worked out. And I love it a lot. I love it so much. And I love giving people new tips and new tools to figure out how to eat better on your day-to-day life.
Okay, thank you. And I know you said that you went to school for it. So what are some of the things that you've learned during your culinary career that just surprised you?
One thing that surprises me and still surprises me is how much salt people add, or, even how much people think about vegetables differently. What we could be doing better, things that I see when I see other people cooking. as far as, you know, just how we think about food in general, like even as a people, you know, as a culture, how we think about food, how we view food is always, you know, so different from who you're looking at, and where you are. And that's always something that, you know, stands out for me.
Okay, thank you. One thing I'm hearing from many people is that they have gained weight during quarantine. You know, that quarantine, 15, 20, 25, 30 pounds, and they want to start preparing healthy meals at home and just don't even know where to begin.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would help us, and we're just going to discuss, you know, what a basic budget-friendly grocery store list looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What items should we be adding to our shopping carts?
Right. Okay. So I think a good place to start is once you're grocery shopping, you know, try to shop the outside of the store first. You want to get all your fresh ingredients first because those are the ones that are really the ones that matter. One thing I notice a lot for myself, especially during COVID, is that if it's quick, if I don't really have to cook, I don't want to cook. But you know, sometimes if we just take the time, it's much better and it's much better for us. So when you shop on the inside of the store, a lot of the food that come in packages that are on the inner aisles of the store have higher sodium in them. You know, they have higher fat in them. They have other things in them that they need to keep them on those shelves. So if you start shopping on the outside of the store first, get all your fresh foods, then you kind of set yourself up more for success because you end up with more fresh food. And, you know, maybe you go to the grocery store maybe twice a week instead of once a week. If you find that that bag of salad has been in your fridge for a couple weeks and now it's just questionable, you know, maybe shop more than once. So then you don't have to stress yourself out about, oh, I bought all this fresh produce and now it's going bad, you know. Simplify it.
Okay. So meal prepping can be a lifesaver for individuals and families with busy schedules. And I know I'm one of those people that's like, oh, I'm going to bring out everything. I'm going to cook over the weekend. I get these really fancy little Rubbermaid or plastic dishes. And I promise myself I'm going to do all this cooking. And then I realize it is Monday morning and I did not cook a thing. So what would you say are some of your favorite recipes to prepare that aren't super time consuming and that can feed a family over a period of days?
So one I think is a staple is rice. Rice is something that you can make one time, make a lot of it, and put it with a ton of different things. It's also really great for you. Different kinds of grains, anything like that. So like rice, barley, quinoa, you know, anything like that are always great because you can make a lot of it and put it with several different things over the week. So maybe that's not something that you have to continue to remake. You know, you don't have to necessarily cook that every single night, but you can have it with literally everything.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that I can suggest is when we think about meal prep, often we think, okay, I know I have some chicken at home. So what can I put with this chicken that's going to be good? When if we just thought about it different, you would eat different. So rather than starting with the protein, start with your vegetables. What vegetables do I like? What vegetables am I, you know, good at cooking? What vegetables do I really enjoy? And then work your way into what meat goes well with that vegetable. So if you know you really like, if you really like corn, if you really like mushrooms, figure out what something that you would like that would incorporate those corn and mushrooms, and then get to, oh, well, maybe I'll add some chicken in there. So not only will it help you eat a little less meat, but it'll also help you eat a little more vegetables if you think about it in that way.
Okay. And just a few moments ago, you mentioned the use of salt. One of the things I've learned from watching your cooking demonstrations is that you don't have to sacrifice flavor to eat healthy. And I know many of our people who have been in our diabetes self-management education courses always speak about the lack of flavor and taste in their food. So how can we cut back on salt, sugar, and gluten while keeping meals delicious?
So one thing I'm a strong believer in is herbs and spices. You know, when you season your food early on, a lot of people feel like seasoning means salt and pepper, but not necessarily. You know, the more familiar you get with different herbs, different flavors, different things that go well together, the easier you'll find it to flavor your food without having to salt your food. I also suggest this book. It's called The Flavor Bible. It's one of my favorite books, but I suggest this book to a lot of people because it's almost like a food almanac. So when you go in here, you would find whatever ingredient is that you're trying to cook. So maybe, let's say you are going for chicken. You'll find chicken in here and it will give you different flavor combinations, maybe some things that you hadn't tried, some herbs you've never heard of, you know, some things that you didn't really think that would go well together. That, you know, the Flavor Bible will tell you, yeah, those actually work. And, you know, it encourages people to try things maybe that you haven't tried. So rather than just, oh, it's kind of bland, add some more salt to it, maybe it's like, okay, well, let me try this herb. Maybe this one works. Well, these work very well together. And then, you know, it kind of helps enhance that flavor altogether.
Great suggestions. So on another level, we now have parents and children preparing for their school age kiddos to go back to school. Now we know that children come to the world and they can often be very picky eaters. And can you share some creative ways that parents can incorporate fruits and vegetables into their diets?
Yes, absolutely. So one thing that I find is great for parents is, and what's great for kids too, is showing your children how to pack their own lunches. So one thing that I suggest for that is, you know, everyone's seen those shoe things that you can get at the store. You know, you can hang it on the back of a door, you put all your shoes in it, and, you know, it just keeps everything looking nice. So they have those and they're clear, they come in different sizes. But one thing I suggest to my parents is to get one of those for your pantry. Usually they come in ones that have rows of 7. So that's one for each day. Or if you have school age children, with 5 rows in it. And then help your child understand what a good lunch looks like. So if you have 5 days and, you know, your rows go down, you know, start with, okay, so you can put your sandwich and you can do this. And then buy healthier snacks and fill the pockets with healthier snacks. Give your child an option, but, you know, if your first row is going to be your fruits and vegetables, make sure your child can see the fruits and vegetables. Make sure it's something that they know that needs to go in their lunch every day. You know, your next section would be your juice. You can have a juice or a water, but you can't take 2 juices and you have to take 2. You can take 2 waters, you know, and help them start developing healthier eating habits. Give them healthier options to where they want to put these things in their lunch. And that's all, you don't have your kid only taking the Go-Gurt. You know, you want to get them fruits that they like, vegetables that they like to eat. See, you know, play around with that. See which ones they don't pick up, which ones they don't put in their lunch every day. And, you know, just kind of encourage them, though, to know, okay, yes, you have your sandwich. Yes, you have your chips. You also need a fruit. You also need a water. You also need this. And these are the things that should go in your lunch. This is how you kind of should eat on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, great idea. Now, many of us have had, will have, or will host a cookout this summer before the summer ends. How can we remake or remix some traditional staples that aren't so healthy?
One thing I will say about grilled foods is that grilled food is actually not the greatest for you. So anything that you can maybe cook ahead of time before you put it on the grill so it spends less time on the grill is great. So like those burgers, those ribs, if you bake them first and then maybe just throw them on the grill so you get that nice little smoky flavor on there, that's already going to improve how much better it is for you, because the longer it's on the grill, the more smoke and carcinogens that kind of are in there. So, you know, by grilling just a little less, it is actually going to be more beneficial for you to eat it if you just leave it on the grill for less time.
Okay.
Also, more vegetables. Put them vegetables on the grill, y'all. Even if it is for all day, put them vegetables on the grill. Put all the vegetables on the grill. Put vegetables on the grill you didn't even think went on the grill. It'll work.
Okay. So we have a question here. And hold on 1 second. Do you have any advice for people trying to resist their favorite cravings that might not be so healthy? Like this morning, I wanted peanut clusters, chocolate covered peanut clusters for breakfast, but I knew that I could not have that.
Yes, I would definitely avoid those for breakfast. For me personally, one thing that helps me with cravings is if I have to think about it, I know what my choice should be. Now, if you wake up and you know for sure, man, I just really want those gummy bears today might be a gummy bear eating day. But if you think about it and you're going somewhere and it's like, man, I could really use some fries, but should I have the fries or the salad? If you have to think about it, you know you should choose the salad. You know, if you have to think about it, you already kind of know you don't need it that day. You might be able to go without it that day. So, you know, maybe just be more conscious about making a better choice. Put more healthier snacks around you so that when you look, I don't know how good I feel about those peanut clusters, leaving that celery sitting there. You know, give yourself a chance.
All right. And another question that we have is, I'm starting to buy spices, but they can be expensive. Yes. I'm building my collection slowly. Can you recommend a few salt substitutes?
Salt substitutes. You know what a great salt substitute is? Acid. So lemons, limes, anything that's kind of got that acid to it is going to help you kind of add more of an enhancing flavor like salt without adding salt. And even though, you know, that's not a seasoning, that chicken that you love so much, put just a nice little squeeze of lemon on there and see how much that will help without having to add the salt. Also, spice blends. You know, Mrs. Dash is great. And I love Mrs. Dash because they don't have salt added. Let me see, give me one moment. Here, let's see what we have. So like anything like this, you know, it's okay to use. I think if you use seasoned salt, you can probably get away with using a little less than normal salt because it has other stuff in it. But anytime you have any things that are like flavored, like garlic honey or anything like that, you always want to check the ingredients list. And you want to make sure that the first ingredient there is not salt. So Mrs. Dash doesn't add additional salt. So usually their herb blends are just the herb blends. So I would try those, you know, try flavors you wouldn't usually try. And then that way, once you do add the salt, I always tell my classes to add the salt at the end. So once you get all your good spices in there, once you get all your flavor built up and you're like, you know, it's almost there, but it could just use a little something else, then you're going to add that last little pinch of salt in there to kind of enhance all that great flavor building that you're doing with all your other herbs and spices and things that you use.
Okay. So I know we're getting close on time, and I know that you have a few recipes that you want to share, and that you've got Brittany there as your sous chef. So let's go on and explore them.
All right, let me switch my camera angle here just for a second. Okay. Okay, can everyone see me?
Yes.
Can everyone see my cutting board and everything here? Here, actually, Brittany, I think I'm just gonna have you hold this. And I'm gonna turn my camera. There we go. So if you can just point it that way. Can everyone see?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna demonstrate for you today a pretty budget-friendly recipe that I love. It's good for feeding a lot of people for not a lot of money. It's also totally open to interpretation. So you can add, take away, do whatever you want to do with this recipe. But, you know, just giving you a couple tips and tricks on how to make this one recipe just work for everybody. So we're going to be making some top ramen today. So I've got some ramen noodles. Now, everyone is like, well, how healthy can top ramen really be, right? So I've got some water boiling here. I'm gonna let that get hot. And then I've got a wok and I've got, you know, all my ingredients out here. Give that a little turn. I'm gonna let my pot heat up and then I'm gonna kind of just tell everyone what we've got going on over here. So, you know, I've got some onions or some minced onion, which is great to add into things. It's great for flavor. I've got some garlic powder. I've got a little bit of some teriyaki sauce, a little bit of soy sauce. I've got some onions here. I've got some mushrooms, some garlic. I've got a little bit of ginger, and I've got some canned vegetables. I've also got some very delicious looking shrimp. So thank you, Brittany, for the shrimp.
Of course.
And we're going to get right to it. So most people usually make these, you know, you put them in the water, you put the flavor packet in there, and you just, you know, put it in the microwave, you put it on the stove, and that's just how it goes. And at 25 cents a pack, you know, it's really hard to say no to that. But these are so high in sodium. So even though we're trying to budget and save by, you know, just kind of popping these in the microwave, you can make these so much better for 25 cents a pack. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got my water nice and hot here. I'm going to just put some of these packs of noodles in. I'm going to put about 3 packs in. And I'm not going to put the seasoning packages in there yet. I'm just going to put about 3 of those. So while those are cooking, I'm going to throw my lid on here. While those are cooking, I've got my other pot heating up here. So I try really hard not to use butter, because olive oil is just a healthier choice. It's got better benefits for you, less saturated fats. It's just a little bit of a better cooking choice. So I'm going to put a little bit of this olive oil in there. That's about a tablespoon, maybe a little bit more. Not too much to start off with. And I'm going to let that get nice and hot. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to have Brittany come over just a little bit. So I've got some garlic here. Now, you can chop the garlic. I usually like to just kind of peel it. And then I'm going to smash the garlic and just leave it whole in the pan. So I'm just going to kind of turn my knife here, smash those, and I'm going to use 2. And I'm going to put these whole straight into the oil. And those are nice and smashed, so it will release all those good garlic flavors in there. While that's heating up, I'm going to also go ahead and take some of these onions. Now, what I'm doing right now is called flavor building. So this is a good base to a lot of different recipes that you can make. Garlic, onions, premium flavor there. So I'm going to add those onions in there. I'm going to also do a little bit of a little bit of ginger. So I'm just going to kind of peel this little knob here. And I think I can feed about maybe 10 people with this recipe, with the amount of shrimp and everything that I purchased. I spent less than $50. I'm just going to put that over there. I'm going to slice my ginger real thin. So we have these small pieces of ginger here. I'm going to throw those in there too. Make sure everything is nice and coated. Let that heat up some. Okay, so while those are cooking, check on my noodles here because you don't want to overcook those. And those are just about done. I go by when I can start pulling them apart. So I'm going to go ahead and drain these. So just bear with me 1 second. I'm gonna pour some of these water off. I'll maybe give those a couple more minutes. I'm gonna switch these. I'm gonna go drain these now.
So Leilah, as you drain those, we have another question. Any recommendations for someone allergic to the pollen in raw veggies and fruits? Not all, but most. And it says, I can only eat them cooked, which I heard reduces the value of eating them.
Okay, so it does, but not enough to where it's gonna make that much of a difference between you cooking and not cooking them. For some things like tomatoes, it's actually better for you to cook them than to eat them raw. And with the other things, you know, the nutritional difference between cooking and not cooking isn't so significant that it's gonna really change, you know, your kind of nutritional intake on those. So I'm just kind of letting these heat up good there. So while those are going, I'm gonna let those turn brown. Smells really great. Getting those onions going there. I'm gonna do a little bit of garlic powder. And these are salt-free, so you know, these is as much as your heart's content on these because they have no salt in them. They're what the Dietetic Association called free foods, spices and everything. You can add as much of those as you want, and they don't have really any like negative connotations with eating lots of them versus eating less of them, like salt. I'm gonna go ahead and open my little veggies now that I got my raw veggies cooking, and this is just vegetables in a can. Really not much of a nutritional difference between fresh and non-fresh because of how they're picked and everything. So even if you buy your vegetables in a can, that's perfectly fine. You know, you just want to make sure you get those vegetables in there.
So do we have to worry about the sodium content if we're buying them in the can?
So the sodium will be in the water, and I try to buy mine with no sodium added, but I also just pour the liquid off and give my vegetables a bit of a rinse to kind of help get some of that sodium solution off of there. So I'm just gonna drain that out. Miss Yolanda, how are we looking on time?
You've got a couple more minutes.
Perfect. So I'm gonna give these a little stir here. I'm gonna put these nice mixed vegetables in. Yeah, I wish everyone could smell this right now. You know, just with these onions, this little bit of garlic and these mixed vegetables, like it smells amazing in here. I've also got some extra corn just because I personally really love corn. So I'm gonna throw some corn in there. Okay. I'm gonna put that in there too. Now, while I've got that going, I've got a wok pot here. So for the sake of time, y'all, I'm just gonna wok it out. Mix that up all good. And then I'm gonna put my shrimp in. So I happen to be on the East Coast today. So I was able to find these shrimp for a really great price. They were $4 a pound, which is also to say, don't shy away from buying fresh meat out of your deli section. Sometimes you can find really great prices and everything, but you know, also I just like to eat my meat fresh versus buying it frozen. I know exactly, like, you know, it hasn't been frozen for like weeks on end. It's fresh. So I just like to get fresh when I can. I'm just gonna put that in there. And I'm just gonna stir this up. I'm gonna mix all this good stuff together. While that cooks, I'm gonna just throw this lid on there. And that'll kind of help it keep some of the heat in while I get to these noodles. So with our noodles, I know most of you don't usually pour your water off when you're making ramen, but I like to fry my ramen. One, it just makes it taste better and it goes really well with these. But also, I'll explain to you why it helps use a little less salt. So now that I've cut these off, I'm just gonna take a bit of my olive oil here. I'm just gonna put a small drizzle into my noodles. And I'm just gonna give them a little bit of toss here with this oil on them and fry them up real good. So the reason I'm saying this is gonna help use less of the sodium is because as you notice, we're not gonna use the sodium packs. The flavor packets. I used about 3 packages of, thank you. I used about 3 packages of the ramen, and usually this is 1 packet of this, I believe, is 3 times your daily sodium intake. So with So with 1 bowl of ramen, just using this entire flavor packet, you totally blown all your salt out of the water for the whole day. So I'm not saying don't use these, but I'm using mine sparingly. This is 3 packets here. I'm just gonna use maybe a little tiny sprinkle, not even half of this package, straight onto the dry noodles. And I'm gonna give it a little bit of a stir. And then I also have here just some teriyaki sauce. With your condiments, because they do have a little bit of salt in them as well, you just also kind of want to be sparing and using extra condiments. But using a little bit of this and a lot less of the packet kind of balances out when it comes to your sodium intake.
Okay.
So put a little bit in there, just kind of enough to coat these noodles. And then I'm also going to come back through and just add a little bit of water to just kind of dilute the salt content a bit. So whenever you have something that's just a little too salty, or it's got too much of there's too much in there, you can add a little bit of water to it, and it will definitely help kind of disperse some of that salt.
Okay.
So now I've got some good looking noodles here. That looks like something you would get at a restaurant with just these packs of ramen here. Okay, I'm gonna come over here and check on my shrimp. Miss Yolanda, how am I looking for time?
You have 4 minutes.
Awesome. So my shrimp's getting nice and done here. Liking how these vegetables are looking. It's smelling really great in here. And also, if you guys notice, this took me maybe about 15 minutes to do, 10 or 15 minutes. Doesn't take super long. Gonna give that a nice little stir. So this is how I can tell when my shrimp are done. Once the tip of your shrimp touches the tail, that's usually how I can tell they're done. Now, if they curl over to where this one is going a little bit over, that's a little bit overdone. You see, like this one, we can tell is not done because those haven't quite closed up yet. We still got that nice C shape. This one's good to eat. So I'm just gonna let those cook for a little longer. Make sure all of my shrimp gets nice and cooked up in there. While we're waiting on this to cook, does anyone have any questions?
Well, so far we don't have any questions, but what I will do is do just a quick couple of announcements about some new classes that we're going to have here at the Center for African American Health. So beginning Tuesday, August 10th, we will be doing our Strengthening Families program, and that is an 8-week course, definitely free. All sessions are 2 hours, and we will have meals and refreshments provided. There will also be on-site childcare, so parents, don't let the fact that you don't have a sitter prevent you from taking these evidence-based courses. And then at the end, there will be a certificate and some incentives provided for class completion. So some of the topics will be child development and parenting styles, healthy communication styles, improving children's behavior, and stress management. So if you ever hear anybody tell you they're a parent and they didn't have any stress, I don't know. I don't know what kind of kids they had. And I don't know, I just don't know how that's possible, because we all want to do the best for our children. And so sometimes just knowing we want the best for them can be a little bit stressful. So the class will begin August 10th, which is a Tuesday from 5:30 to 7 p.m. And then on Friday, August 13th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And we are encouraging those families with children from birth to 5 years of age. And of course, it's going to be in our brand new building, which I'll share the address with you before we close. Are you ready, Chef Leilah?
Yes, ma'am, I am. Okay, so now that we're kind of cooked all up, we've got our flavor built up nice with our garlic, onions, and ginger in here. I've got just a couple of dry herbs. So I've got some chopped chives that I'm going to throw in there. Just going to give it a little sprinkle. I've got some cilantro. You know, and these are just some little dry herbs for those of you working on your herb collection. None of these have added salt in them. So, you know, like I said, it's as much as your heart desires. I just kind of put them in there. This one's parsley. So a little bit of parsley in there. I put paprika in everything because I love it. So we're just going to put a little bit of the paprika in there. Just a little bit for some flair. And then I also have some Old Bay here, just because who doesn't love Old Bay? I'm going to use this one a little sparingly too, because the Old Bay's got a little bit of salt in it. Let's give it kind of a nice little sprinkling of Old Bay. I put about a tablespoon maybe, once I finish shaking all this in here. It's about a tablespoon of Old Bay. I'm going to give it a quick little stir here. And mix everything in. Okay. And then the last thing I'm going to do is add just a little bit of salt in there. So I always try to see my salt before I put it in. So whether that's setting your salt aside when you're cooking before you start, or even putting it in your hand this way, the center of your hand is about a teaspoon. So I try to measure. So I put about that much salt, and I'm just going to put it right on the top. So I got about a teaspoon of salt in there. And I'm going to give it one last little stir here. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my noodles. Oops, dropped my fork. Go ahead and add my noodles. And I'm just going to go ahead and toss those in. Okay. I'm going to walk it out, y'all.
How long did it take you to learn how to keep it in the pan?
It took me quite a while. But for those of you that want to figure out how to do it, what I did to learn how to do that better, biscuits. You put a cooked biscuit in the pan and just work on just flipping it, keeping everything in the pan. Keep the biscuit in there, everything's good. You know, I got some rolled corn, that's okay. And then look at that. So for less than $50, I'm able to feed about 10 people or so. We've got some good things in there. We've got vegetables. We've got some healthy lean meat in there. We've not got a bunch of salt. And then on top of that, we've got some really great flavor. And yeah, just a quick little easy summer thing to do. Totally inexpensive, very delicious.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
We're glad you could be with us. And as we wrap up, if there are any other questions, please make sure that you send them to us. And one other announcement that I want to make is our new Workforce Readiness program. So if you're looking for career pathway, employment assistance, or career guidance, look no further. We have that for you here at the Center for African American Health. We are currently working with United Airlines, TCIS Security, and several other employers who are looking for people to have honest to goodness for real jobs that come with pay, great pay, and amazing benefits. Our first class will begin here on August 19th. So if you're interested in those classes, you can contact me directly, Yolanda, here at the Center for African American Health, and that is YOLANDA at CAAhealth.org. And then again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us today, Chef Leilah. We will make sure that everybody knows that they should purchase the Flavor Bible. So
also,
instead of
filled spice racks are not bad for those of you trying to learn some new spices. Right here.
All right, thank you. And don't forget her idea about those shoe racks for your kids and your kiddos for their back to school snacks, and
yes,
as well as lunches.
Questions? I believe they linked my Facebook. Feel free to shoot me a direct message on Facebook. I will help. Whatever, any questions you have, any ideas you may need more help with, more explanation, let me know and just shoot me a message.
All right, so just one little last message. We will be pausing our Facebook Live schedule during the month of August to focus on facilitating virtual and in-person activities. But stay tuned, we'll have new topics and hosts in September. In the meantime, stay safe, be kind to yourself and others, and remember, the science goes back and forth, but we want you to be safe. Wear that mask, wash those hands. Remember, 6 feet is best. I can still love you from 6 feet away. So with that, have an amazing rest of your summer. Enjoy your August, and we will see you in September. Thank you.